All right, hi guys. So side events are most definitely not my thing. I am an all-rounder, so I do practice like every now and again, and I make sure to, not just be doing useless stuff. Like I learn, some intermediate like level stuff. But there's something about it. Side events just don't do it for me as much as a lot of other events. And some of my least favorite ones, and two of the worst, but also most comparable ones, are Pyra and Skewb. And these events are quite interesting for me because Pyra, I'm not bad at. I have a sub 3 official average, and at my peak when I got it, my PR single of 1.6 was NR5. I definitely am better overall at Pyrrha, and I think that's because I did just like spend quite a while practicing, and this was like a few years ago now. I haven't really done as much since then, but I feel like I haven't really forgotten much of it, and I can still I'm still at roughly the same level as long as I'm like in the zone on the day. Like some of my Pyrrha averages in comp have been pretty bad, but that's just because I haven't particularly practiced, or I just get bad scrambles or just have a bad day. But when I'm on it, I can get like pretty decent low 3 averages. And I also have a handful of podiums in Pyrrha as well. So it's definitely my better of the two. Whereas Skewb, I am quite bad at. For the longest time, I was literally only using Sarah's beginner method. So every solve would be like 25 or 30 moves or something like that. Because my layers weren't good, and the rest of the solve I would literally just do all with sledges, and it would all be like literally beginner stuff. And I got down to a 4.58 official average with that, which is wild in hindsight. I just got good at sledges. I now have a 449 average with intermediate, and at some point in the future I will try and learn advanced as well. I don't think I'll get around to NS because that's just confusing. That's something I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, Skewb is definitely something I'm less good at. I also happen to be lefty for Skewb. I've mentioned this before, I think. For some reason, I just only learned to do sledges left-handed. So all of my solves are lefty, including like building layers and stuff. I really have no idea how that happened, but that doesn't play into anything like my ability in like actual solves. Obviously, I can do sledges and hedges and all of that completely fine with my left hand, but that will become significant in a minute. So these events are definitely like two of the most popular ones. Pyrrha is like third and Skewb is fourth, I think, something like that. But yeah, like most of the solve for Pyrrha is definitely like better than Skewb, in my opinion. So Pyrrha is like pretty easy to figure out intuitively. I think it was the only WTA puzzle that I didn't have to watch a tutorial for. I just kind of figured it out by myself, including the last layer algs. I worked out like how to do 8 move algs for last layer, literally just taking a piece out and then reinserting it a different way to get all of the different cases. So I do like that about it, because I think that makes it more interesting. It makes it slightly more accessible because like I said, there weren't any other puzzles that I could do that with. And yeah, the turning is quite nice. Like there's a normal like home grip that you turn in. Like the finger tricks are a bit harder to get used to, like as once you stop like pulling from like the back and start like flicking from the front, it gets a lot easier. But yeah, the finger trick's quite nice. I'm not that good at recognition because I did L4E intuitively for like the longest time, so that's definitely one of my weaker points. But honestly, it's not that bad. The algs are all like pretty easy to understand. Building the V can be a bit annoying at sometimes. Like if you get a bad scramble, it's like quite bad. Or certainly for me at least, like I struggle to see stuff. Like as long as I get a reasonably easy scramble, then I'll be fine. But honestly, one of the only big gripes, probably the biggest gripe I have with Pyrrha, is the tips. Tips are the worst part of a Pyrrha solve. They make it just so bad. It's awful. I hate tips. Yeah, like it completely ruins the solve because you have to, like, I mean, I do all my tips at the start, so you have to pick up, do the tips, and then reset your hands, change your grip so that you can do like the actual good bit of the solve, the fun bit of the solve. Like tips are not fun. I really don't like that about Pyrrha. The other thing I don't like about Pyrrha is the hardware is still kind of bad, which is really surprising given it's like the third most popular event. I really don't think, I mean, this is a Yushin Little Magic pyraminx. I have a Weilong as well. I could never get the setup good on that. To be honest, I haven't really found a decent setup on this. It's not the best, but it's shocking to me that there still really aren't any other good options. I've gone back and forth on some different like pyraminxes over the years, and it's insane to me that we still don't really have like a standout option. All of them, like almost every Pyrrha has like pretty bad tips, which is another reason why I don't like them. The YLM's probably the least bad of the lot, but it just like it feels like Pyrrhas can still get so much better, and I'm really shocked that a lot of companies have not invested time into making a better Pyrrha, because it feels like it would really like do a lot for the market. The GAN pyraminx is terrible, by the way. I have no idea why people use it. It's genuinely awful. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Pyrrha. As for Skewb, I think it is arguably a bit more interesting, because Pyrrha, technically you could call it like a face turning puzzle. Skewb is technically, again, a corner turning puzzle, and it's the only WCA puzzle where one turn affects every single side, so that's quite interesting. But that means the finger tricks are pretty hard to get used to, and like every turn moves so many pieces, so like if you can't one look your solves, it's like impossible to look ahead. So like I can one look a handful of Pyrrha solves. If there's like a short V, I can one look it. I can't one look any Skewb solves. Annoying if you can't one look it, and even if you can one look it, like how do you do that? Because like I said, one turn moves so many pieces is really hard to keep track of. So you just kind of have to learn the patterns, which is like a slightly more annoying way of doing it, because you can't really do it intuitively. It's just you have to learn it. So yeah, so with NS, the non like sledge algs are really, really weird as well. That's another thing that plays into with like the finger tricks. It's like really, really hard to get used to it. It feels quite unnatural beyond a certain point. And also the notation is like unhinged for Skewb. I have no idea why the notation is so confusing. And also the fact that the CS timer notation, so like obviously scramble notation is different, but solve notation, the ones that Skewbers actually use is different to the one that like CS timer uses. If you have like the layer solve function up, it's just different, which I have no idea why why that needed to be, and like who decided it should be different, but it makes no sense. Yeah, I think also Skewb just looks a bit weird. Like I know the dimensions are necessitated by like the dimensions of the puzzle, but it looks a bit weird having the centers so big compared to the corners. Like on Pyrrha, all the pieces are the same size, which is, you know, it looks really aesthetically pleasing, but on Skewb it just looks really, really weird. And yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that. Yeah, so for Skewb, it's harder to learn the finger tricks for. I think it's harder to learn the algs for as well, like actual non-sledge algs. The other thing as well is I think efficiency on pyraminx is much easier than on Skewb, again because it's slightly more intuitive, and you have the centers, which on Pyrrha stay in the same place, they just rotate, and then all of the rest of the pieces are edges and they're all the same, and you can, you know, like flip them really easily. Whereas with Skewb, the corners, like although you can twist around the corners, they don't all stay in the same place, and you know, centers are massive and confusing, and like you can't get like two adjacent twisted corners on Skewb. You can only get two opposite twisted corners, and also you can't get adjacent swapped corners on Skewb. You can only get diagonally swapped corners, which is kind of weird. I can't remember which one has fewer possible positions. I think it's Pyrrha. It might be Pyrrha like excluding tips or something. But yeah, Skewb is just a bit weird, and like it is kind of fun to do. I think it's less sort of spectator friendly, or at least in my opinion, because at least even when I watch top level Pyrrha solvers, I can see like when the V is made, like, it's like really obvious, because you know, if you're holding it from this angle, you've got all of this down here and all of this down here or whatever that will be solved, and it just, you know, you can tell even if people are solving it in like a second and a half, you can tell. Whereas with Skewb, but again, because one move literally changes half the cube, you can't tell when a Skewb is solved until it literally gets solved. Like you can be like 3 moves away from being solved on a Skewb and it looks completely scrambled. So that's another thing I don't like about it. So yeah, so Pyrrha is actually like not bad apart from the tips. The tips are the worst part. Like out of everything I've mentioned on Pyrrha and Skewb, my least favorite part of any of it is Pyrrha tips. Yeah, so Pyrrha is an interesting one because it's like otherwise like an actually decent puzzle, but the tips just bring it down so much. Whereas with Skewb, there's just a lot of little things that I don't really like about it that don't make sense. So it does end up being pretty close, to be honest. However, I think at the end of the day, even with the tips, I don't think that brings Pyrrha down quite as low as Skewb. So yeah, that's my very objective comparison. Skewb is very slightly worse. But honestly, at the end of the day, it's like, do you want to get your arm cut off or do you want to get your leg cut off? Like, you can't really choose between them. They're both pretty awful, and I don't really practice them at all. Obviously, I'm much better ranked in Pyrrha than Skewb. Maybe one day I'll get close again with Skewb, but I don't think I'm going to end up putting that much effort in because, yeah, neither of these are particularly good events. I'm giving the win to Pyrrha by a very small margin on this one. So, yeah, that's it for today. See you tomorrow.